we're going to walk through this stand just a little bit now so you can see it. With regard to the thinning, it's a relatively small area here that has the thinning that we've talked about because this is part of a larger research plot. So it's a bit more open off to the side of me, but that's why, because it's a little bit different of a treatment. Well, one cool thing that we notice over here is there's two fruiting bodies here. Yeah, these fruiting bodies from fungus. Cheryl, you were mentioning you have an idea what these might be, but you're not entirely sure?
I thought these might be Fomitopsis pinicola again, so yeah.
And would that be something that potentially would attack living trees, or is
yes.
it? Okay, so
yes,
it
can.
And is it something that? Oh, is it something that you tend to have large outbreaks of, or is it something more where you get small pockets of mortality through the forest?
Small random pockets. Yeah, it's never a big outbreak. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So it's not an overall strong challenge for you in managing these forests. It's just something that is part of the natural disturbance cycle.
It's not
here.
a big risk, and in fact, it's at such a low level that, in a way, if you look at it, forest pathologists have said that these are agents of ecological diversity, right? So by killing individuals and pockets of trees, it's creating habitat for wildlife. It's creating gaps that promote, more diverse vegetation and just the change in the forest over time. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And
not all bad.
And looking around here a little bit, we mentioned that when you thin, you're opening up the canopy quite a bit and letting quite a bit more light down. It's pretty sunny here. So I'm noticing a fair amount of vegetation here. Maybe we can show. I'm seeing a fair number of red huckleberry. Let's see. There's a few bracken ferns.
Little hemlock seedlings.
Yeah, let's find some seedlings here. There's here we go, right at my feet. All right. So there's a really high density of hemlock seedlings right here. Can you talk a little bit about, and I will point out here, this is kind of cool. There's two little western red cedar seedlings here. You can see their initial needles are different looking, but then they get that characteristic.
And right here is a Douglas-fir as well.
Okay.
Now, the thing that I notice about this spot right away is, even though hemlock can grow very well on, decaying wood and just fully organic forest floors, it too, like most of the conifers, can do real well with some disturbance too. And this is a little disturbed patch. You see little bits of mineral soil. So when the machinery was coming through here doing the logging, it probably, disturbed a little patch. It just scuffed it a little bit. And the scuffing, the disturbance from logging, isn't necessarily a bad thing at all. It can actually promote regeneration. So it can be just the ideal amount of site preparation to have, regeneration and response.
Okay.
And this is just the beginning. It's just going to get greener and greener, because this was only 2018, 2 years ago, that this thinning was done. So it's really only just begun to green up underneath.
So one thing I like to teach students is to be really good observers in the forest and think about what might have happened in the past and what might have happened in the future. And when thinking about the future, regeneration is something that we need to think about. So there's a lot of seedlings here, mostly western hemlock, a few western red cedar, and there was one Douglas-fir there. We've seen a few other Douglas-fir there. Can we tell anything about what the future of the stand might look like based on these seedlings here?
That's the really important question. What you see right now is not necessarily what you're going to see here in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. So many things can germinate, but they're not all going to thrive and grow. So if you look at how much, shade and competition and occupation of the growing space by the rest of the stand around here, they're not all going to do well.
Okay. So if we were to come back 10 years from now and we were seeing saplings that were 3 or 4 meters high, that might give us a better indication of what potential regeneration would be in the understory. Whereas, especially given the number of those hemlocks, we can probably guess that the mortality of those hemlock seedlings is probably going to be extremely high if we think about 5 years or 10 years from now.
That's right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
All right, let's just walk around a little bit so the students can get a feel for what this stand looks like. And we can certainly see signs of that earlier disturbance. We've got these large old stumps from that initial cutover, and I see pretty clearly down here we have a lot of charcoal from the fires. Did you say the fires were about 1890 and 1930?
No,
or?
here it was 1931.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we know
Okay.
exactly when that one happened. It's in the historical records of this local area.
Okay. And were there earlier fires related to the cutover in this area, or was
Not
it, or is it
here.
so
Just
so that
the
1931 was the big one here at Malcolm Knapp Research Forest?
On the east side of the forest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's an interesting checkerboard of different disturbances that have happened in the research forest over time, and we're fortunate that way because that gives us a whole lot of different forest age classes.
So Cheryl, we should probably clarify a little bit about the regeneration here. So have any trees been planted here?
No, they haven't. And the thing to remember about the regeneration that we're seeing here on the forest floor that's happening in response to this thinning is that it's only temporary. If the thinning's been done right, at the right time and at the right, residual density, then what's going to happen is that the trees that we've left behind are going to reoccupy the growing space. They're going to increase their growth rate, they're going to expand their diameters and their crowns, and this little wave of regeneration that we're seeing underneath, that's not the objective here, and it is actually going to get outcompeted. So it's going to die out. The vast majority of the seedlings that you see sprouting here, they're not going to make it because they're going to get shaded out essentially.
So as these trees that were left behind in the thinning take advantage of the openings and increase their canopy size, they're going to shade this light out, and in a few years the amount of light reaching the forest floor is going to drop. I imagine that some of the more shade-tolerant species like the hemlocks or the western red cedars, some of those seedlings might hang on, but they're not necessarily going to grow very quickly, and they're not, the plan isn't about regeneration. The plan for the management here was strictly improving the quality of the remaining trees.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And it's interesting because even though this stand that we thinned is 75 or 80 years old, because of the stand type, the trees have great longevity. They're actually relatively young and responsive at this age, and they still have a lot of height and diameter growth potential. So it really depends on the forest type you're in. That's why I was saying the timing and the level of removal is really critical, and it will really depend on what sort of forest type that you're in to begin with. But here there's a lot of opportunity for these trees to still respond. They're very long-lived, and they're still at a relatively thrifty stage of their development.
So in the forests here at Malcolm Knapp, and I think you said this is a CWH VM1 that we're in right now?
We're in CWH VM1,
so
that's right.
What stand age would you typically start thinking about, or what range of ages would you think about doing a commercial thinning?
Yeah, well, it depends on the site quality, and also just if it's a commercial thinning in terms of being able to use the products. What are your local product markets? Like how small a product essentially can you get started thinning with? Because you can do early thinnings, and that could benefit the stand greatly. You could do multiple thinnings, but here if we were to be on a very good site, we could start as early as 40 years.
Okay.
40, 45 years we've done thinnings.
Great.
Commercial thinnings, I should say. Yeah.
Thank you.